All across the world, religious people tend to have more children than their secular counterparts. This fact is well known across the social sciences, but puzzling from an evolutionary perspective. How do religious people manage to have more children? Parents have a limited set of resources available to them. They only have so much time, money, and food for their children. The more children that parents have, though, the fewer resources they have to invest in each child. Indeed, studies have found that the more siblings a child has, the fewer resources each receives, and that sibling number is negatively related to a child's cognitive and physical development, as well as their socioeconomic success in adulthood. Due to the fact that religious people tend to have more children, we would therefore expect that due to differences in family sizes, children born to religious parents would fare less well in terms of developmental outcomes than children born to secular parents. Study suggests, however, that children born to religious parents do just as well as those born to secular parents. What then can explain this paradox of religious fertility? In other words, how do religious people manage to have more children without the costs associated with large families? In a recent article, my collaborators and I investigated this paradox using a large longitudinal database of mothers and their children from Bristol, UK, known as the Children of the 90s Health Study. In this work, we integrated 2 lines of research to propose and test a solution to the religious fertility paradox. First, studies consistently find that religious people tend to be more cooperative with one another than their secular counterparts. Second, alloparenting, or the provisioning of childcare by individuals other than the parents, has been shown to both positively influence a woman's fertility and improve children's health and developmental outcomes. We hypothesized that religious cooperation extends to alloparenting, and that higher levels of cooperation among religious mothers can help to explain their higher fertility. We also predicted that the support that religious mothers receive would also positively impact child developmental outcomes. In other words, we tested the idea that cooperation mitigates the costs of high fertility to children. Using the Children of the 90s dataset, we first investigated whether women who invest in ritual behavior have stronger support networks. In England, and in this sample, the most frequent form of ritual is church attendance. We assessed 2 forms of social support. First, we assessed general social network support based upon questions such as how many friends a mother has and how many people they can borrow money from. Second, we assessed whether or not women received help from members of their congregation. Over the 10 years of this study, we found that church attendance was positively related to both social network support and aid from co-religionists. Religious women have more social resources at their disposal. We next investigated whether or not these 2 forms of support were related to a woman's fertility. Unexpectedly, we found a negative relationship between social network support and a woman's fertility. Aid from co-religionists, though, was positively related to a woman's fertility, as expected. Women who get help from members of their congregation have more children. Over the 10 years of data we analyzed, a woman's social network support decreased while aid from co-religionists remained consistent. Religious mothers appear to remain social as their children age, while secular women's social networks become smaller. This suggests that while most mothers' social networks faded over time, religious support networks remained strong. Consistent with previous research, we found that the more siblings a child had, the lower they scored on 3 cognitive tests. These cognitive tests were administered to children when they entered school at about the age of 4 or 5, 1 year later when they were about 5 or 6, and then when they were 8. These kinds of tests are known to be biased, and our models reveal evidence of these biases. The children of wealthier and better educated mothers scored higher. We found, though, that social support and aid from co-religionists were both associated with higher child test scores, particularly at later stages of development. This suggests that women's social networks positively affect child cognitive development, at least in terms of the way that cognitive development is assessed on these tests. These results only support some of our hypotheses, yet our findings are broadly consistent with the idea that religions in modern environments support cooperative breeding strategies. Women who receive help from members of their congregation have higher fertility, and this aid, as well as more general forms of social support, were both associated with improved child cognitive development. By positively influencing social support, religion in the UK may help some women have more children without sacrificing the success of these children. Still, many open questions remain. For example, we don't know whether these findings will generalize to non-Christian and/or non-Western contexts. We are currently conducting a large cross-cultural study in Bangladesh, the Gambia, India, Malawi, and the United States to better investigate these issues. In doing so, our larger project, funded by the John Templeton Foundation, hopes to advance our understanding of the interrelationship between religion, fertility, and child development. Please check out our website and follow us on Twitter to keep up with our project.